Hi, I'm Robin, English teacher with Core Languages, and today I'm sitting in my car because I'm about to drive somewhere. But I have a question for you. What is the first thing I should do before I turn on my car and start driving? I should buckle up. This is the first thing. What is the next thing? I should check my mirrors to make sure I can see what's behind me. And then I would start driving. It is important to remember the order of these things. I wouldn't start driving, then check the mirrors, and then buckle up. That would be unsafe. When formulating sentences in the English language, we also have to follow a certain order. Different words or elements belong in a certain part of the sentence. For example, I can say, I buckle up before I start driving. But I cannot say, I buckle before I start driving up. The sentence would be incorrect. It follows the wrong word order. In today's lesson, I'm going to review word order with you, both in regular sentences and in questions. So the next time someone asks you, what is the first thing you do before you start driving? You can formulate a perfect English sentence.
Review of word order. To form a basic English sentence, we follow the word order of subject, verb, and object. But not every sentence needs to have an object. There are also sentences that just have a subject and a verb, or a subject, a verb, and a predicate, for example, a predicate adjective, or subject, verb, and the rest of the sentence. For example, he is a boy. He is the subject, is the verb, and a boy is the object. The boy is young. This sentence does not have an object but a predicate adjective. The boy is the subject, is the verb, and young is the predicate adjective. They work without taking a break. In this sentence, they is the subject, work is the verb, and without taking a break is the rest of the sentence. Predicate, or the rest of the sentence, can be further divided into these elements: place, time, and manner. To ask about these different elements, we could use these question words: how, where, when, and why. To put all these elements together in one sentence, we follow this word order: who, what, how, where, when, and why. Who tells us about the subject of the sentence. What tells us about the verb and the object. How tells us about the manner in which something is done. Where tells us about the place or the location. When tells us about the time. And why gives us a reason or purpose. The question word who always refers to the subject of the sentence, but the element what refers to the verb and the object. For example, the boy reads a book. We could ask, what does the boy do, and what does the boy read? Because what includes the verb and the object, they should not be separated. For example, it would be incorrect to say, the boy reads quietly a book. But we could say, the boy reads a book quietly. Let's look at a sentence that includes all elements: who, what, how, where, when, and why. The boy reads a book quietly. The boy is the subject, reads is the verb, a book is the object. Reads and a book are the element what, and quietly is the manner. In his room, before dinner, to prepare for school. In his room tells us the place, before dinner tells us the time, and to prepare for school gives us the reason. The boy reads a book quietly in his room before dinner to prepare for school. The word order in English is further determined by additional elements. For example, there are direct objects, but also indirect objects. There are prepositional phrases, adjectives, and adverbs of time, location, manner, and frequency. There are also different kinds of verbs, and we have to keep in mind that tenses also change the word order slightly. Here are some example sentences. I am going to Seattle today. This sentence is in the present continuous, so the word order is subject, verb, the present participle, and then the predicate. In this sentence, the predicate consists of the location and time. She must go to work today. This sentence uses a modal verb, and a modal verb is placed before the other verb. She must go. We did go home yesterday. This sentence uses an auxiliary verb, and like modal verbs, they are placed before the other verb. We did go. I will not eat dessert today. This sentence uses a modal verb, but it is also negated. So the word not is placed between the modal verb or the auxiliary verb and the other verb. I will not eat. He bought a book for his mother. This sentence uses a direct object, a preposition, and an indirect object. In this example, the direct object comes first, a book, then the preposition, for, and then the indirect object. She sent my sister a birthday card. This sentence also has a direct and an indirect object, but no preposition. In this case, the indirect object comes first, my sister, and then the direct object, a birthday card. Here are some more example sentences. Try to read along and see if you can identify the different elements of the sentence. A cat sees a mouse in the park. A cat is the subject in the sentence, sees is the verb, and a mouse is the direct object in the sentence. In the park tells us where. The children give the teacher an apple. This sentence uses a direct object, an apple, and an indirect object, the teacher, but no preposition between the two, so the indirect object comes first. The bird can sing beautifully. This sentence uses a modal verb, can, and the modal verb is placed before the other verb. The bird can sing. Beautifully tells us how, or the manner in which the bird sings. The basic word order of subject, verb, and object changes when we formulate a question. The basic question word order is verb, subject, object, but other elements can change this word order slightly. For example, question words or modal verbs. Here are some examples. How are you today? This sentence uses a question word, how, then a verb, and then the subject, are you. How are you today? This sentence uses a question word, but the tense is the present continuous. So the word order is question word, verb, subject, and then the present participle, doing. What are we doing? This sentence does not use a question word, and it only uses the verb to be. For questions that only use the verb to be, we follow the word order verb, subject, and object, or verb, subject, and predicate. Are you sure? This sentence uses an auxiliary verb, to do. If the question uses any other verb other than to be, we typically use to do to formulate the question. We start with the auxiliary verb, then the subject, then the verb, and then the direct object. For example, do you know the answer? This sentence uses an auxiliary verb and a question word. The question word is placed first. Where did you put the book? This sentence uses a modal verb and no question word. The modal verb comes first, and this particular sentence also uses the word not, which comes after the modal verb. Can't you tell me? The same sentence without not would simply be, can you tell me? This sentence uses a question word and a modal verb. The question word comes first. Why wouldn't you call him? The same sentence without not would be, why would you call him? Question words always come first, then the auxiliary verb, the subject, the main verb and the participle, and then the object or the predicate. Remember that in the present continuous, the subject goes between to be and the present participle. Here are some example questions. Read along and try to identify the different elements and how they determine the word order of the question. Are you the new manager? This question does not use a question word and uses the verb to be. So the word order is verb and then the subject. How are you doing? This question uses a question word and it is in the present continuous. So the subject is between the verb to be and the present participle. Who's there? This question uses a question word and to be. Who is there? Where is the restroom? This question uses a question word and the verb to be. Do you have a question? This question uses an auxiliary verb, but no question word. Let's look at the following two pictures and try to identify the sentence that follows the correct word order. He bought for his daughter a book, or he bought a book for his daughter. This sentence uses both an indirect object and a direct object, but it also uses a preposition, for, so the direct object comes first. He bought a book for his daughter. How about this sentence? She did not watch TV all day. She did watch not TV all day. When negating a sentence with an auxiliary verb, in this case did, the word not goes between the auxiliary verb and the regular verb. She did not watch TV all day. Now look at these two pictures and try to choose the question with the correct word order. Are you today going surfing? Or are you going surfing today? The correct question is, are you going surfing today? This question is in the present continuous. And how about this question? Where have you been? Or where you have been? The correct question is, where have you been? Now try to negate this sentence by choosing the correct placement of the word not. I not will eat olives on pizza, or I will not eat olives on pizza. When negating a sentence using an auxiliary verb, in this case will, not is placed between the auxiliary verb and the other verb. I will not eat olives on pizza. And how about this sentence? Try to choose the correct placement of the indirect object, me. A friend baked me cupcakes, or a friend baked cupcakes me. This sentence does not use a preposition, so the indirect object comes first. A friend baked me cupcakes. I could also say, a friend baked cupcakes for me.
Thank you for watching. I hope you now have a better understanding of word order in the English language. As always, if you have more questions, feel free to comment, or if you're interested in joining one of our courses with a live instructor, feel free to message us directly. I look forward to seeing you in our next class.